Hello, guys and gals, and this is part 32 of our reading of Leaves of Gold. Leaves of Gold is an anthology of prayers, memorable phrases, inspirational verse, and prose from the best authors of the world, both ancient and modern, edited by Clyde Francis Lytle, and we're going to go over the copyright information, which should be on your screen right now. Revised edition, 12th printing, 1964, copyright 1938 by Evan S. Coslet. Revised 1948 by Donald G. Remley, copyright 1948 by A.C. and D.G. Remley. Published by the Coslet Publishing Company out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and printed in the United States of America. And we have a chapter here on work. It is chapter 31. And it is entitled Work. So, wow, let's get this read, and we will go from there. Yep. Okay. Choices. All through life, we must keep choosing. Destiny hangs on yes and no. As we look back, it is to wonder what would have happened if we had gone the other way when the road forked. On life's bargain counter are wares piled up for the pleasing of all tastes. We marvel that some eagerly select what we contemptuously reject. Our tastes are as various as our natures. How can nature originate so great a variety of patterns? We speak of the mass of mankind as if it were all one, but it presents a bewildering variation. Human beings are as different from one another as their parental influences and their environments, and their personal natures are different. Flesh and blood can never be run in a mold of monotonous uniformity. The fascination of travel is in the endless variety of mankind that one encounters more than in silent buildings or inarticulate scenery. The choice of personal association is the all-influencing choice. To go wrong here is the likeliest way to cripple one's chances of eminence or of plain everyday success. A man goes into business with partners guilty of malfeasance, and they pull him down. A woman marries the wrong husband, and through her courage may keep her at the sticking point and may enable her to preserve the appearance of domestic felicity. All that makes for the ideal relationship is absent. The basis of happiness is not in things, but in people. Those of us who are thoroughly normal cannot get along without congenial society. The kind of persons we choose to be with is the first and surest indication of character. The worthiest must be uneasy and unhappy in the company of the worst, and the best will naturally seek the best. What a man chooses, he is. That is from the Philadelphia Public Ledger. Now we have doing. Whatever your hands find to do, that do with all the might that is in you. That is the lesson of all experience. Face every task with a determination to conquer its difficulties and never to let them conquer you. No task is too small to be done well. For the man who is worthy, who is fit to perform the deeds of the world, even the greatest, sooner or later the opportunity to do them will come. He can abide his time, can rest, safe in himself as in a fate. That is by G.W. Goethals. Now we have my task. To love someone more dearly every day, to help a wandering child to find his way, to ponder o'er a noble thought and pray, and smile when evening falls. This is my task. To follow truth as blind men seek for light, to do my best from dawn of day till night, to keep my heart fit for his holy sight, and answer when he calls. That this is my task. And then my Savior by and by to meet when faith hath made her task on earth complete, and lay my homage at the master's and sorry to follow truth. Sorry, let me read that again. Sorry. My task: to love someone more dearly every day, to help a wandering child to find his way, to ponder o'er a noble thought and pray, and smile when evening falls. This is my task: to follow truth as blind men seek for light, to do my best from dawn of day till night, to keep my heart fit for his holy sight, and answer when he calls. This is my task. And then my Savior by and by to meet, when faith hath made her task on earth complete, and lay my homage at the Master's feet. When within the jasper walls, this crowns my task. By Maud Louise Ray. Copyright 1813. Maybe that's 1913 by Lorena Publication Company International. Copyright secured. Renewal secured. Used by permission. Okay, now we have weeds. Weeds come of themselves. Flowers require cultivation. There is depravity in the soil, a tendency to thorns and thistles. It is under the curse. Good things are brought out of the soul, like good things out of the human heart, only as the result of much labor. It takes no pains to produce a harvest of weeds, nor to produce the harvest that the thief or the drunkard reaps. No more effort than is required to float downstream. This is depravity. This is by Gleanings for Sermons. Now, finding one's work. The desire to begin over again is one of those longings so common and universal that we may say that it is a native instinct. That we have failed and failed again and again need not intimidate us for a new trial. Aspirations, imperfections, and failures are intimations of future achievements. Defeats foretell future successes, and the sin to be dreaded is the unlit lamp and ungirt loin. Our light must be burning, however, dimly, and we must keep on the right road. However often we stumble on the way, under no circumstances can it be true that there is not something to be done, as well as something to be suffered. Let us sit down before the Lord and count our resources and see what we are not fit for, and give up wishing for it. Let us decide honestly what we can do, and then do it with all our might. That's by Amelia E. Barr. Now we have faith and works. If faith produces no works, I see that faith is not a living tree. Thus faith and works together grow. No separate life they ever can know. Their soul and body, hand and heart, what God hath joined, let no man part. That's by Hannah More. Now we have the common task. It is not the straining for great things that is most effective. It is the doing the little things, the common duties, a little better and better. The constant proving that tells. We often see young people who seem very ambitious to get on by leaps and bounds, and are impatient of what they call the drudgery of their situation, but who are doing this drudgery in a very ordinary, slipshod way. Yet it is only by doing the common things uncommonly well, doing them with pride and enthusiasm, and just as well, as neatly, as quickly, and as efficiently as possible, that you take the drudgery out of them. This is what counts in the final issue. How can you expect to do a great thing well when you half do the little things? These are the stepping stones to the great things. The best way to begin to do great things is to improve the doing of the little things just as much as possible. To put the uncommon effort into the common task, to make it large by doing it to a great way. Oh, by doing it in a great way. Many a man has dignified a very lowly and humble calling by bringing to it a master spirit. Many a great man has sat upon a cobbler's bench and has forged at an anvil in a blacksmith's shop. It is the man that dignifies the calling. Nothing that is necessary to be done is small when a great soul does it. That's by Orison Swett Marden. Next we have Hit It Hard. The temper of life is to be made good by big, honest blows. Stop striking and you will accomplish nothing. Strike feebly and you will do almost as little. Success rides on every hour. Grapple it, and you may win. But without a grapple, it will never go with you. Work is the weapon of honor, and who lacks the weapon will never triumph. That is by Ick Marvel. Now we have durable satisfactions. A great deal of the joy of life consists of doing perfectly, or at least to the best of one's ability, everything which he attempts to do. There is a sense of satisfaction of pride in surveying such a work which is rounded, full, exact, complete in all its parts, which the superficial man who leaves his work in a slovenly, slipshod, half-finished condition can never know. It is this conscientious completeness which turns work into art. The smallest thing well done becomes artistic. That is by William Matthews. Now, resolve. The bullseye may be hit by the rifleman whose hand is uncertain and his footing infirm. The goal will never be reached by the runner who swerves from a straight course and wanders into a pathless wilderness. The student will accomplish nothing who flies from study to study with the restlessness of disease, and no man, whatever his condition or mental powers, will win or deserve success unless he fixes upon some special object to be carried out and through cloud and sunshine steadily perseveres in his settled purpose. Purpose indeed is the very essence in the very essence, the main element of a heroic character. It was purpose which animated Ignatius Loyola in his ascetic labors, in persecution, in captivity and physical suffering, still toiling at the fulfillment of his cherished design. The establishment of that quote-unquote Society of Jesus, whose influence on the world's history has been so signal and remarkable. Martin Luther's purpose achieved the Reformation. Oliver Cromwell's purpose turned the tide of battle at Naseby and placed him in the seat of the English kings. Mahomet's purpose built up a mighty empire and fixed the firm foundations of a new creed. The man who concentrates his energies upon the fulfillment of an unalterable design will assuredly wring success from the hands of a reluctant fortune. Such a man will take no heed of quote-unquote impossibilities. Impossible? Exclaimed Napoleon. There is nothing impossible. It is a word only. found in the Dictionary of Fools. The difference between genius and mediocrity lies chiefly in the matter of purpose, for true genius has what mediocrity usually wants: the capacity of labor, work, and purpose is the moral of every heroic life. As from the Public Speaker's Library. Next we have wanted men. Not system fit and wise, not faiths with rigid eyes, not wealth in mountain piles, not power with gracious smiles, not even the potent pen, wanted men. That is by Anonymous. Next we have carpenter. Is not this the carpenter? As though no word of wisdom or work of power could come from a carpenter. If Jesus had been a rabbi in a scholar's robe, it would have been another thing. Yes. And what another thing for us and for all the world's workers? Celsus sneered at the carpenter and said that word proved he was an impostor. How could God so demean himself? But the world has left Celsus behind, along with the critics of Nazareth, and blessed God for the gentleness and comfort, the sympathy and hope which were given to us by the hands of the carpenter. That's by Vance. Now we have labor. Labor, the symbol of man's punishment. Labor, the secret of man's happiness. That is by James Montgomery. Next we have zeal. Zeal. If there was ever a man who seemed to spend his life for nothing, it was Henry Martyr, a man of an exquisite nature, great power, and a sweet and loving disposition, taking the highest honor at the university and having the best prospects in the church. He was led by the Spirit of God to consecrate himself to the cause of foreign missions. For that object he sacrificed that which was dearer to him than life. For she too, whom he was affianced, declined to go with him. He forsook father and mother and native land and love itself, and went an elegant, accomplished scholar among the Persians, the Orientals, and spent a few years almost without an apparent conversation. Still he labored on, patient and faithful, until, seized with a fever, he staggered, and the last record that he made in his journal was that he sat under the orchard tree and sighed for that land where there should be sickness and suffering no more. The record closed. He died, and a stranger marked his grave. A worldly man would say, here was an instance of mistaken zeal and enthusiasm. Here was a man who might have produced a powerful effect on the church in his own country, and built up a happy home, and been respected and honored. But under the influence of a strange fanaticism, he went abroad and sickened and died, and that was the last of him. The last of him, Henry Martyr's life, was the seed life of more noble souls, perhaps, than the life of any other man that ever lived. Scores and scores of ministers in England and America who have brought into the church hundreds and thousands of souls, and multitudes of men in heathen lands all over the world have derived inspiration and courage from the eminently fruitful but apparently wasted and utterly thrown away life of Henry Martyr. That is by H.W. Beecher. Now we have not knowledge but aptitude. It isn't what a man knows that matters, but how near to a straight line he can drive the process of his mind, how near to a lean and useful muscle he can make that mind, how near he can come to lassoing a truth or method. No man should be judged by what he doesn't know. He should be judged only by how quickly and sensible he assumes new duties. That is by Struthers Burt. Next we have building cathedrals. 3 men, all engaged at the same employment, were asked what they were doing. One said he was making $5 a day. Another replied that he was cutting stone, and the third said that he was building a cathedral. The difference was not in what they were actually doing, although the spirit of the third might quite possibly have made him the more expert at his task. They were all earning the same wage. They were all cutting stone, but only one held it in his mind that he was helping build a great edifice. Life meant more to him than to his mates because he saw further and more clearly. The farmer may be only planting seed, but if he opens his eyes, he is feeding the world. The railroad man, the factory hand, the clerk in the store likewise are building their cathedrals. The investors in stocks and bonds, the executives of great corporations, they are building cathedrals likewise, but only they can catch the vision. The housewife does not count the dollars she receives for her exertions. If she did, her life would be unhappy indeed. The rest of us, the great figures of the industrial world, more than the humble ones, are thinking too much about such things as cutting stone and making profits fully. Excuse me. And making profits fully to be realizing the beauty of life. That is by Omaha B. Next we have deeds remain. Life passes, work is permanent, it is all going, fleeting and withering. Youth goes, mind decays. That which is done remains through ages, through eternity. What you have done for God, that is the only that and only that you are. Deeds never die. That is by F.W. Robertson. Next we have faith. Faith and works are not necessary to our spiritual life as Christians, as soul and body are to our natural life as men. For faith is the soul of religion, and works the body. That is by Colton. Faith without works is like a bird without wings. Though she may hop with her companions on earth, she will never fly with them into heaven. But when both are joined together, then doth the soul mount up to her eternal rest. That is by J. Beaumont. Next we have Christians' work are no more than animate faith, as flowers are the animate springtide. That is by Longfellow. Faith and works are related as principle and practice. Faith, the repose in things unseen, the recognition of eternal principles of truth and right, the sense of obligation to an eternal being who vindicates these principles, must come first. Faith is not an intellectual assent, nor a sympathetic sentiment. It is the absolute surrender of self to the will of a being who has a right to command the surrender. It is this which places men in personal relation to God, which, in St. Paul's language, justifies them before God. That is by Lightfoot. Next, it is an unhappy division that has been made between faith and works. Though in my intellect I may divide them just as in a candle, I know there is both light and heat, but yet put out the candle and they are both gone. One remains not without the other. So it is betwixt faith and works. That is by Seldon. And we have no good thing is ever lost. Nothing dies, not even life, which gives up one form only to resume another. No good action, no good example dies. It lives forever in our race. While the frame smolders and disappears, the deeds leave an indelible stamp and molds the very thought and will of future generations, as by Samuel Smiles. And now we have work. Let me do my work from day to day, in field or forest, at the desk or loom, in roaring marketplace or tranquil room. Let me but find it in my heart to say, when vagrants' wishes beckon me astray, this is my work, my blessing, not my doom. Of all who live, I am the one by whom the work can best be done in the right way. Then shall I see it not too great, no small, to suit my spirit and to prove my powers. Then shall I cheerfully greet the laboring hours, and cheerful turn when the long shadows fall, at eventide to play and love and rest, because I know for me my work is best. That's by Henry Van Dyke. Now we have slipshod methods. Do your best not because your work is worth it, but because you are. Whatever you are doing, you are making manhood. Half-hearted work makes only half a man. Slipshod methods mean loose principles. The only way to keep character up is to the standard is by continually living up to the highest standard in all that you do. That's from Young People's Weekly. Next we have make a dust. My son, remember you have to work whether you handle pick or wheelbarrow, or a set of books, digging ditches or editing a newspaper, ringing an auction bell or writing funny things. You must work. Don't be afraid of killing yourself by overworking on the sunny side of 30. Men die sometimes, but it is because they quit at 9 p.m. and don't go home until 2 a.m. It's the intervals that kill my son. The work gives you appetite for your meals. It lends solidity to your slumber. It gives you a perfect appreciation for a holiday. There are young men who do not work, but the country is not proud of them. It does not even know their names. It only speaks of them as old so-and-so's boys. Nobody likes them. The great busy world doesn't know they are here, so find out what you want to be and do. Take off your coat and make dust in the world. The busier you are, the less harm you are apt to get into. The sweeter will be your sleep, the brighter your holidays, and the better satisfied the whole world will be with you. That's by Bob Burdett. Next we have inspire. Men cannot be made wise or strong or moral by exterior laws or agencies. There are two ways to help a thriftless man. One is to build him a house and place him therein. The other is to inspire in him a sense of industry, economy, and ambition. And then he will build his own house. All tools, books, pictures, laws on the outside begin with ideas on the inside. Inspire the reason, and man will fill the library with books. Wake up the taste and imagination in young men, and they will fill the galleries with pictures. Stir the springs of justice, and men will go forth to cleanse iniquities and right wrongs. That is by Parkhurst. Next we have upward. Infinite toil would not enable you to sweep away a mist, but by ascending a little, you may often look over it altogether. So it is with our moral improvement we wrestle fiercely with a vicious habit, which could have no hold upon us if we ascended into a higher moral atmosphere. That is by Helps. Now we have heroes. No man has earned the right to intellectual ambition until he has learned to lay his course by a star which he has never seen, to dig by the divining rod for springs which he may never reach. To think great thoughts, you must be heroes as well as idealists. Only when you have worked alone, when you have felt around you a black gulf of solitude, more isolating than that which surrounds the dying man, and in hope and in despair have trusted to your own unshaken will, then only will you have achieved. Thus only can you gain the secret isolated joy of the thinker, who knows that 100 years after he is dead and forgotten, men who have never heard of him will be moving to the measure of his thought, the subtle rapture of a postponed power, which the world knows not because it has no external trappings, but which to his prophetic vision is more real than that which commands an army. That is by Oliver Wendell Holmes. Next, we have living. A life spent in brushing clothes and washing crockery and sweeping floors. A life which the proud of the earth would have treated as the dust under their feet. A life spent at the clerk's desk. A life spent in the narrow shop. A life spent in the laborer's hut may yet be a life so ennobled by God's loving mercy that for the sake of it a king might gladly yield his crown. That is by Farrer. Now we have pictures in the fire. You can always see a face in the fire, the laborer looking into it at evening, purifying his thoughts of the dross and earthiness which they have accumulated during the day. That is by Thoreau. Attitudes and aptitudes. Have an aptitude for the thing you do and have an attitude of respect or reverence towards it. Some people learn the motions of their work without even bothering to study the meaning of these motions. Such are doubtless working without an aptitude for their jobs. On the other hand, perhaps the great failures are the persons who have an aptitude for their work have the wrong attitude. They do a poor job knowing it to be poor, but they lack respect for their own handiwork and have so little thought for their fellow beings that they are willing to waste their time doing something worthless. In medieval times, people approached their work with prayer. Whether it was ultimately viewed by the many or the few, it was all, no matter how it might be hidden, seen by God, and it was done primarily for God. When we were knee-high to grasshoppers, we were taught what is worth doing at all is worth doing well. All else is waste. That is by the Boston Herald. Next, we have working man. Jesus Christ was a working man. His hands were fitted to labor as his voice was fitted to music. He entered into the condition of the great majority of mankind and became one of them in the fellowship of toil. And from that time, it has been hard for man to get into better company than that of working people. That is by George Hall. Now we have enthusiasm. Make men strong. It wakes them up, brings out their latent powers, keeps up incessant action, impels to tasks requiring strength, and these develop it. Many are born to be giants, yet few grow above common men from lack of enthusiasm. They need waking up. If set on fire by some eager impulse, inspired by some grand resolve, they would soon rise head and shoulders above their fellows, but they sleep, doze, wait for public sentiment, cling to the beaten paths, dread sacrifices, shun hardships, and die weaklings. That's from Theological Framework. Next, we have the cure. The most unhappy of all men is the man who cannot tell what he is going to do and has got no work cut out for him in the world and does not go into any. For work is the grand cure for all the maladies and miseries that ever beset mankind. Honest work which we intend getting done. That is by Carlyle. Now we have conscience. It is a great source of encouragement to man to feel that he has conscience on his side. He does not feel it necessary to stop at every stage, that he must build up a labored argument as to the truth of the position which he has laid down or announced. He is not compelled to be forever busy with the process of demonstration, as though what he uttered had no self-evident power, but must be fenced about with an array of credentials, or he could not otherwise look to gain assent to its truthfulness. He knows that the work which he does carries with it its own proof. It goes straightway into the recess of the mind, and there enforces truth, however unwillingly recognized and however speedily forgotten of its being precisely such as the Almighty might be expected to send. That is by Melville. And we have lasting satisfaction. There is no truer or more abiding happiness than the knowledge that one is free to go on doing day after day the best work one can do in the kind one likes best, and that this work is absorbed by a steady market and thus supports one's own life. Perfect freedom is reserved for the man who lives by his own work and in that work does what he wants to do. That is by R.G. Collingwood. A man is a worker. If he is not that, he is nothing. That is by Joseph Conrad. Pay envelope. Folks who never do any more than they get paid for never get paid for any more than they do. That is by Elbert Hubbard. Next is as a cure for worrying, work is better than whiskey. That is by Thomas A. Edison. I believe in work, hard work, and long hours of work. Men do not break down from overwork, but from worry and dissipation. That is by Charles Evan Hughes. For action, not alone to know, but to act according to thy knowledge is thy destination. Proclaim the voice of thy inmost soul, not for indolent contemplation and study for thyself, not for brooding over emotions of piety, no. For action was existence given thee, thy actions and thy actions alone determine thy worth. That is by Fichte. Next we have greasing the skids. They that do nothing are in the readiest way to do that which is worse than nothing. That is by Zimmerman. I like work. It fascinates me. I can sit and look at it for hours. That is by Jerome K. Jerome. No hope. In idleness there is perpetual despair. That is by Carlyle. Vital function. Work is as much a necessity to man as eating and sleeping. Even those who do nothing that can be called work still imagine that they are doing something. The world has not a man who is an idler in his own eyes. That's by Humboldt. The plan is divine. The moment a man can really do his work, he becomes speechless about it. All words are idle to him, all theories. Does a bird need to theorize about building its nest or boast of it when built? All good work is essentially done that way, without hesitation, without difficulty, without boasting. That is by Ruskin. Budgeting. The more business a man has to do, the more he is able to accomplish, for he learns to economize his time. That is by M. Hale. The one cause. It is to labor and to labor only that man owes everything of exchangeable value. Labor is the talisman that that has raised him from the condition of the savage, that has changed the desert and the forest into cultivated fields, that has covered the earth with cities and the ocean with ships, and has given us plenty, comfort, and elegance instead of want, misery, and barbarism. That is by McCullough. And we are ready for chapter 32, which is Worthy Thoughts. And we'll pick that up at a later time. We have been reading Leaves of Gold, which is a book edited by Clyde Francis Lytle. And we've been reading chapter 31, which is about work. If you like this content, make sure that you like and subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you want to support me in any way, if you want to join the Discord server, all that information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone. You are loved, and have a great day.